Now, to further discuss this, I'll be joined on the news now by Dr. Bashir Obasekola, the Continental Chairman of NIDO-Europe. Thank you so much for your time and thanks for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
All right, a pleasure. Now, Dr. Bashir, there is this allegation by the Cameroon American Council that there is a racial bias against many Africans, especially. And now this includes the refugees fleeing the Ukrainian war. Would you say this is to an extent true? That's the assertion. Can you shed more light on this? And would you say that there are other rights abuses that Africans face in the United States and in Europe, among many other things?
Yeah, thank you. Well, actually, that is, partially true because, if you can recollect, initially when people were, fleeing from Ukraine, the Africans, non-European citizens were denied the opportunity of crossing to the other side, for safety to neighboring countries. But after a few hours of intervention, that was resolved. But at the same time, they were not being given the equal treatment that European citizens are getting, or the Ukrainian citizens are getting, even though both Ukrainian and non-Ukrainian who are fleeing from the war are facing the same danger. So we felt that yes, there is discriminatory treatment that's being meted to non-Ukrainian citizens presently, even as we speak, because we have some citizens of Africans, including Nigerians, who are even being detained in the immigration settlements in camps in Poland. We are even taking the services of lawyers now to intercede on their behalf for their freedom, because even this organization NGOs that are also supposed to be taking care of these people are not giving them adequate attention, because they are facing the Ukrainian citizens more than other citizens.
All right, now, Dr. Bashir, from what we've seen earlier on the news and from many other reports, we understand that African citizens are likely to face arbitrary arrest and detention, torture, rape, extortion, and even having their national identification confiscated. And they're also likely to face abuses against their relatives. How do you think this will go before it bids a retreat?
Well, it's going on. That's what I gave as an example of what is currently the situation of things in Poland, particularly because that's where we are having issues that we are currently solving as Nigerians in the diaspora organization, trying to also intercede on this issue. So there are this treatment that is not it's not good because Africans are always receiving at the shortest side of the stick whenever these type of issues are happening. We are also having that treatment being meted on us now. As Africans who are not EU members, but fleeing from the same danger that EU members and Ukrainian citizens are facing. So we are facing those dangers, and I think it is for us and our government to intercede on this issue and escalate it to the United Nations, so that they will know that it's not only Ukrainians that are facing problems, also people who are legitimately who were legitimate in Ukraine before are now fleeing for safety should also be taken care of. It shouldn't be left for us who are not who are just interested parties who are taking care of them currently. But we need big organizations that United Nations inclusive to take care of these people also.
All right, now talking about interceding, Dr. Bashir, can you tell us what role you think African leaders need to play in order to stem this?
Yeah, to do that, I think they should, cooperate together. African Union is there as a platform for African countries to speak with one voice, that their citizens should also be given, good treatment as Ukrainians are being given currently. In terms of, those who are still in Europe. Of course, I know federal government of Nigeria evacuated, quite a number of Nigerians who crossed over, but not all of them, could, take that evacuation flight. So now some of them are still there. They need to be taken care of. The students whose education have been truncated at this moment, they also need to be, that issue has to be resolved also, in terms of, giving them, some alternatives of how to continue with their education.
All right, Dr. Bashir, before we let you go, let me just ask you this last question. Now, there is this idea, or let me call it a complaint, per se, that these atrocities against African citizens are usually underreported by the West, and even in Africa, most of these things going on, there are claims that people do not exactly know enough about them. Would you say this assertion is true?
Yeah, that's true, because of course Europeans and non-Africans we won't want to be maybe labeled as a racist, so they try to play down on whatever is happening to Africans, and also most of the people will even blame the Africans for their predicaments instead of trying to also sympathize with them and see that they are also human beings who also have blood in their veins that needs to be taken care of. So it is true that they are not being properly reported. And I think, given this type of platform that you are giving now for us to voice out and let people all over the world know that Africans who are victims of this, war in Ukraine needs to be also be treated also as much as, the Ukrainians are being treated.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Bashir, for your time. It's always a pleasure having you around.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That was Dr. Bashir Obasekola, the Continental Chairman of NIDO-Europe, who came to shed more light on the issue of Africans being sent back to their bases. Now, hopefully there is a solution in sight.